welcome you all here this afternoon, and I feel quite upstaged by the dignitaries behind me. Very conscious of being a country cousin and all the educated people behind. However, I shall do my best, and I would like to make a few apologies. I won't go through all the list of goodwill and that sort of thing. I'll leave that till later on this evening. But I have an apology from the Prime Minister and Mrs. Longy, who are unable to be with us today. Also, Mrs. Deasley, who's not been very well, but hopefully she may be here tonight, and I sincerely hope she will be able to attend. Also, Sue Lawrence, wife of Dave Robinson, MP for Manawatu. At this stage, and also I have a letter of congratulations, and really why I'm reading this is because I'm very conscious of this lady, who was one of our teachers, and of course she was a teacher when I was going to school. Miss Totman is, probably a lot of you will remember her. She sent a letter expressing her good wishes to us, and I can assure you she was a very capable teacher, and a lot of people here today who have been taught by her can be very thankful for that. I would like to introduce our official guests, and I'll read from the back of my program. These are in no particular order. I have my wife here with me. Perhaps I should start with Mr. Deasley, who is the chairman of Wanganui Education Board. We have two other members of the board, Mr. and Mrs. Ross Piper, Mr. and Mrs. Wayne Costello. As mentioned, we have Dave Robinson, MP for Manawatu, Denise and Chris Satterley. Of course, Denise is our chairperson, as she keeps telling me, of our school committee. And I'm sure I've left out one, and it's Doug and Suzanne Drysdale. And, of course, Colin is sitting there looking very, it's a usual look, I must say. And I've been in front of that look for a few years now. Here's Mr. and Mrs. Austin. Colin is the chairman of the Manawatu District Council. Thank you very much for all those guests who are with us today to celebrate our 100 years. We're very pleased to have them here. Some members have said we are not so important and we don't get invited to these things, only the chairman. I'm pleased that, if I might say, some of the lesser dignitaries of the board have seen fit to be with us today. We are the most southern school in the Education Board's area, not the least vocal, but I honestly think one of the most valuable. Now, if I can just pass some of these notes over. It's very difficult for me at any time, but it's more difficult with the wind. I've several pages, but I'm not going to read them all. When I took this job on, there were lots of people who were prepared to be chairman, but most of them sort of shied away from the idea of making a speech. And I guess that I can understand why. However, I shall do my best, and I've prepared a little something for you all. And it goes like this. 100 years to the young, an eternity with little or no meaning. To the elderly and middle-aged, a real challenge to be obtained possible, with phrases like, "It only seemed like yesterday," and "how quickly the years have gone by." Perhaps we may never see again those same simple times of the years gone by. Surrounded by the basic needs of food and clothing, shelter and warmth, the occasional trip to town, and the ability to talk with one another. Even family Christmas has changed for a lot of us. The challenges of the modern day society are available to those who are prepared to meet them. Each one of us placing their own particular value on what is available or obtainable. It has been said that the young can have or attain anything they want. This may be true, but to a certain extent, the same could be said of the early pioneers of this district. In both instances, the rules of life seldom change. Honesty and diligence towards the achievement of goals mostly has its rewards. Foundations of the Linton School were well and truly laid on the 18th of March 1889. It is our responsibility to see that these foundations continue to be built on, and that our name, Linton, and the proud heritage of our district remain for another 100 years at least. To the children seated, of all the children in the world, the present children enrolled here are the only ones with the right to sit and be present as pupils of the Linton School. A lot of us older people would like to be young again and sitting with you. But remember, as old as we may look to you now, believe it or not, we were once like yourselves and have attended your classrooms as children just as you are today. By your presence, you are representing in a very practical manner the children of the past as well as the present in a 100 years time span. Now isn't that something? Thank you for being with us and helping with the official party. It was my expressed desire that you be a part of this official opening. I'm sure you've done it very well, and I hope you will remember it for many, many years to come. I also suggest to you children that you meet every one of these people seated behind me today. Make a point of going up, talking to them, shaking their hands, and just tell them who you are. I'm sure that you will appreciate it in years to come, and they will appreciate it today. I haven't finished yet, so don't say it. I won't be long. These 3 days of celebrations and remembrance will each have their very special places in people's hearts. May we all respect each other's feelings and so make this an enjoyable and memorable occasion for everyone to enjoy and remember. Thank you very much. The Linton win. Here we go. Lyndall is bringing forward, and I would hope she would hang on to it. She doesn't like being in the limelight. She says that, but she really does. This is the original plans of the first Linton school. Now, you may know that the education system is in quite an upheaval. I hope Mr. Dearsley knows this, but some of the members of his officers saw fit that we should have this document to be placed in our school. This is quite an old document. Well, naturally, it's 100 years, but in fact, to get a school 100 years, you have to start planning for it some 12 months in advance, so it's a little over 100 years in actual fact. However, we're proud to have it, and I would have much pleasure in presenting these framed plans to Denise, if she would come forward and accept them on behalf of the school committee. I place these plans in her trust and hope that the school will look after them for many, many years to come. They're very valuable from our point of view, and we're very pleased to have them. Denise?
Ladies and gentlemen, I didn't know this was going to happen, so nothing is planned. But however, I must say a very sincere thank you to the members of the Centennial Committee and those concerned for these, and I can assure them and you that they will be held in trust, and we will value them as a school committee in the next 100 years of Linton School. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. That will be displayed for everybody to see just as soon as this official function is finished. However, I will now ask Mr. Dearsley, Chairman of the Whanganui Education Board, to step forward and say a few words to you. Mr. Dearsley.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, girls and boys. I appreciate very much the opportunity and the invitation to share in this centennial weekend with Linton School. I want to congratulate the school on reaching this ripe old age, to offer the best wishes from the board, and to commend all those who've been responsible in the preparation and the organisation of this weekend's activities. It's no small feat to have served a community for 100 years. And this is what Linton School has done since the day it was established in 1889. Records show that there were 50 pupils on that opening day. 7 of them came from one family and 6 from another. I doubt whether today we see that sort of enrolment coming into our schools in these years. Dougal Matheson was the first teacher on the rather magnificent annual salary of $165. Know who could live on that today? The school continued to grow and was well supported by its district, by the community around it, for a number of years, doing all the things that a normal small school would be able to do. But in 1934, a rather tragic happening occurred when the school was destroyed by fire. But by the end of that same year, a new building was put in its place. Many facilities have been provided by the board and the parents and community. And in 1963, due, I believe, in no small measure to the efforts of the late Honourable Blair Tennant, the hall behind us was erected to serve the school and the community. And I'm sure that has happened over those intervening years. The school continued to grow, and in 1964 with some measure of overcrowding. At that time, the Linton Camp School was opened and of course took the pressure off this Linton School, and a number of the surplus buildings were shared around the district to other schools who were in need. 10 years later, I suppose some of you wonder whether it was right then to do it. 10 years later, the school committee, with the consent and agreement of the parents, decided to become a contributing school, and the senior pupils in the school in Form 1 and 2, or Standard 5 and 6 as you would have known them then, transferred and went to Palmerston North Intermediate School. Today, from those high levels of roles, the present role is in the order of 25 or 30 young people. The calibre of the teaching staff all through the history of the school has been of the highest, and they have given good service, they have built good standards, and they encourage young people to seek the best that they could obtain from their education. And today, on this centenary celebration, I'd like to commend the present Principal, Mr. Drysdale, and his staff for the way in which they carry on the tradition of those teachers who preceded. I acknowledge the board's appreciation of their service, of their cooperation, and of the work they do for the children in your district. I trust they'll continue to teach with the goodwill and the support of the community, and that their fears and apprehensions about the future of their profession and their conditions of employment and service won't be forthcoming. All through those years, the community has supported the school through the various members of the school committee. They have done a tremendous job in safeguarding the interests of the school, in building up the facilities, and getting all the things done that one would expect to be done. For a long time, the Wanganui Board has supported the notion of lay involvement in the administration of education. And for a number of years, we have battled with the Education Department to hand over much greater responsibility to district boards, who in turn were prepared to hand over more responsibility and activity to the local school committee. And I venture to say that had that been done, we wouldn't have seen the kind of dramatic changes which are going to occur in the next few months in this regard. Can I then say to school committees present and past, thank you for the work you've done, for the way you've cooperated with boards, and for the service you've rendered your young people as they've come through the school. There are now proposals for the establishment of boards of trustees in every school, and the elections which will be held in April or May will really be the replacement of the school committee by these new boards. And I trust that those of you who are present parents of the school will do what your forebears have done and willingly come forward to serve again in whatever capacity you can inside the structure of these new boards. The details are still being worked out, so I can't tell you any more about that, although I have a few ideas. But in due time, you'll know what's expected of you as a trustee for your school. I must say I am concerned, and have been for some time, over the future of small schools, whether they be in a rural community or whether they be on the fringe of a small urban area. And so I hope that you will take a real interest in your school board and make sure every effort is made to safeguard the future of a school like Linton, even though it has only a small number relatively of pupils in it. I trust that as these young people, the pupils of the school, share in this weekend, they will catch some of the spirit of their pioneer families who have supported the school and developed it over those years, and that you young people will do your best while you're here to build on those traditions, so that in the next 100 years, you won't be here, I know, but people who are here will be able to recognise the worth of your contribution and what you've done. So again, can I congratulate all of you who have been responsible for the preparation for this weekend. It's obvious from the support of people that those efforts haven't gone unrewarded, and I hope that your weekend will be one of pleasure, meeting old friends, past schoolmates, and that you will strengthen the bonds between you as you leave these grounds. I would just like, in closing, to assure present people, present committees, that the board, so long as it's in existence, together with its staff, will do its utmost to serve the needs of your school. And I'm hopeful that before the board goes out of office, we'll have set in place an education service centre that can help boards of trustees to make a good job of the administration of the school. I'd now like to ask the chairman of the committee to accept, on behalf of the school, a visitor's book which will record future visitors to the school. I noticed already, of course, you've had it last night and you made some worthwhile contributions in it, and I hope many more will be added to it as the years go by.
Thank you very much, Irvin. I knew that this book was forthcoming, and I took the liberty of asking Irvin if I could have it prior to this opening, for the simple reason is that some of the people who were here last night are not here today. We wished it to be as complete a record of the proceedings as possible. It may not be strictly a book for these celebrations, but we had the assurance we could use it whichever way we pleased, and I propose to have everybody's name in this book that we can get, and I would ask everybody that hasn't signed it to please do so. At the conclusion of the celebrations, we will keep this book within the school for a school visitors book. In other words, people who visit the school will sign it. I think it will be quite a valuable document. I'm very happy to receive this book on behalf of the school. Thank you, Merlin. We'll shortly unveil our new school and motto, which we have never had, to my knowledge. I may stand corrected, but I don't think we have had an official school motto or crest. Now, I would like to say a few words about this crest, and it is an artist's impression of the original architectural drawing of the Linton School dated July 1888. This was done for the Centennial Committee by Dennis McQueen, draftsman to the Wanganui Education Board in 1988. He did the drafting in 1988. I take it Mr. McQueen is still an architectural drawer with the board. And from this, our school crest and motto has evolved. The late Eric Whitehead, which many of you will remember, often expounded the principles "to thine own self be true." Some ex-pupils here today will be reminded of the esteem Eric generated and the high value he put on a person's character and honesty. This plaque, when unveiled, will be mounted in a permanent place within the school for all to see. We hope it will be thought highly of by all children who pass through this school. The motto is each individual's choice, but a challenge and a lesson to us all. The wind is not helping again. Mervyn, would you?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to say I appreciate the initiative of people who have set about this new up-to-date press. Congratulate them on their initiative, and with the help of the wind, I'll unveil this new plaque.
You can all say ooh and ah. Come on, children. Ooh. Not very vocal. It is a very nice piece of work, and I'm very proud of it. I'm proud of the people who thought it out and the manner it's been presented. I have a little gift for Mervyn in exchange for the book. Mervyn, I'd like you to accept this little gift. It's only a small memento, but it ties in very well with our expressions and what you see here today. Life is a learning process. It's quite obvious that I'm a farmer, because if I was a businessman I wouldn't have all these notes in such a large state to be blown around by the wind. I would have prepared my ground a little bit better. However, I'd like to call on Dave Robinson to say a few words. We thought that Dave, being the MP for the district, he may be able to encourage us to work a little harder. David, I'd like to call you to stand and address the public. Thank you.
Thanks, Dale. There's a lot of people I'd like to acknowledge in starting. I'm sure I won't remember all of the important people who have worked so hard to make today possible. And I'm also, of course, very much aware of the rain that's trying to drive us all indoors. But I certainly want to acknowledge Dale and Judith Craw, because and their committee, who have organised this magnificent event, and I'm really quite bowled over by the numbers of people who have come from all over New Zealand, and I gather from far afield overseas as well for today. I think there's over 600 people that finally registered. So I certainly want to acknowledge that work. I want to acknowledge Mr. Dearsley from the Education Board and his board, Mr. Drysdale, the principal, and his staff, Inga Dayton, who I understand is the oldest ex-pupil, who's here today, Denise Satherley and Mr. Satherley. Denise is the chair of the present committee, and all, of course, the staff and pupils of the present school, and all the former staff, former pupils, parents, and so on, who are here today. All of you I would lump under the heading of distinguished guests, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today. One election promise I never made was about the weather in Manawatu, and I've been perpetually pleased that I never painted myself into a corner on that one. For all of you who have come back, though, from other parts of the country, I guess it adds to your sense of nostalgia being here today, to have the wind blowing and the rain threatening and so on, and make you feel as though you've really come back home. One particular apology I just want to emphasise that has already been made is from the Prime Minister. He was invited to be here today and would have liked to have been here, and the apology is sort of doubled, because there was a bit of a snaffle really on the part of his staff. He knew some time ago he was unable to come. I knew some time ago he was unable to come, and we both thought that his staff had let the committee know, and in fact they hadn't until quite recently, so I apologise once again because of that. However, 1989 is a particularly significant time for Linton School, or indeed any school in the country, to be celebrating its centenary. It is a milestone for the school, obviously, and for the community, and for New Zealand education. This year will see tomorrow's schools implemented. In April, parents will be elected to the boards of trustees. These boards will function as existing school committees and boards of governors until the 1st of October 1989, when they will assume overall policy control of the school. From from that time on, the pattern of schooling that has evolved over the last 120 years in New Zealand will change. For the first time, the school administration will tap the desire of parents to improve their children's learning. Allied with the skill of our teachers, this will unleash new dynamics that will transform our schools. This is really where the future of education in New Zealand lies, with the creation of community-oriented and controlled schools. The community must be brought into the process of education. The idea that the school system should perform the role of a state-funded childcare organisation is wrong. It is no longer enough for parents to be involved with their children's schools on enrolment and prize-giving days only. It is time for parents and communities to start working with and for schools to provide their children with the best education possible. And of course in country schools in general, and this one in particular, as has been evidenced from the things we've seen and heard today, this has nearly always been the case. The creation of schools where the parents and the community play a key role right around the nation is the aim of the government's reform of education in tomorrow's schools. It is also an important part of the reforms of preschool and tertiary education. In all these areas, the government wants to encourage parents and communities to play their part in their children's education. It is through such cooperation that the future of education in New Zealand will be assured. Where there is positive parental involvement in schools, there are measurable gains in student achievement. Research supports that common sense. The higher the level of involvement, the greater the pupil success. Children whose parents are in touch with the school score higher than children of similar aptitude and background whose parents are not involved. Children who are failing in school improve dramatically when their parents or guardians become involved. Once again, I'm sure that the history of this school provides many positive examples of this. Some critics of the reforms that are proposed say that they are untried. In actual fact, Canada, some Australian states, the UK and Denmark have introduced similar systems. It's essential that we in New Zealand work out our own solutions to our own needs, but it is encouraging to find that other countries are applying similar reforms. Our reforms say that the principal and his or her staff are responsible for the day-to-day running of the school. The role of the parents is to make decisions about the character and the role of the school in their community. This, it seems to me, is a fair division of responsibility. The scare stories that have been circulated about parents sacking teachers and interfering in the day-to-day running of the schools are just that, scare stories. Teachers are the professionals in our schools and they must be allowed to work free from interference. The charter of the school will safeguard both the interest of the teachers and the interest of the parents and pupils. The recent events at Drummond School in Southland are a timely illustration, in fact, of what will not happen under the Tomorrow Schools reforms. In the case of the Drummond School in Southland, there was no proper consultation between the parents and staff. The story about this incident published in a recent Listener suggests that teachers will be threatened under the new reforms. This is not true. Under the charters to be set up under Tomorrow's Schools, consultative structures will be established which will provide parents and teachers with procedures for reconciling disputes. Such structures will provide parents with protection against poor teaching standards and teachers with protection against unfair dismissal. The creation of such structures will mean that threats to withdraw teaching staff from schools will not happen, as did happen in fact at the Drummond School. The unfortunate situation that occurred there would not have occurred had that school been run under the administration system outlined in Tomorrow's Schools. National curriculum standards will be built into the charters. Also to be outlined in the charters will be a description of the aims and objectives of the school and an outline of the school's character. The working group developing the charter guidelines has already reported once to Cabinet and is currently refining its guidelines before finally submitting them. The essential philosophy behind the charters is that teachers and parents must work in cooperation to run the school. The suggestions in the Listener that conflict and not cooperation will result are simply wrong. In the end, the purpose of our reforms is simply to create a flexible and fair education system that is capable of adjusting to the complex world we live in. Education is about becoming an adult in that complex world. It is about earning a living and in participating in family and community activities. Young people should leave school with a sense of achievement, a sense of self-esteem and a sense of purpose. Otherwise, they as individuals and the society they enter will be the poorer. The modern world has an enormous need for an increasing higher level of skills and understanding. So schools must equip all young people with the required capabilities. Scholarship and skill acquisition must both be valued and rewarded at all levels. The government's responsibility is to provide education on a just and fair basis. At the same time, the system should be responsive as possible to local needs. The reforms the government is setting in place will enable this to happen. The issue of standards has not been forgotten in this process of reform. Despite the evidence that New Zealand leads the world in literacy, there is a widespread community perception that standards needed to be addressed, that we must be more able to assess students' progress and the value addition which is created by any 1 year's learning. For example, school certificate does not show the value added by the school. Besides, it's right at the end of the pupil's compulsory education. We need to be able to say much earlier than this that the program is working well, or that such a part of it might need improvement or some other part might need urgent attention. The bottom line for parents is what their own children learn at school. Schools cannot avoid issues of achievement. Brian Pico's task force, by suggesting a review and audit agency, will make parents and teachers jointly approach the issue of what children are learning in school. And so the review and audit agency is one of the key features of the new program. The government takes the issue of standards very seriously. A working group is currently being established that will bring together university educators, teachers and politicians to discuss... My time must be up. I timed it quite well. I've got about a minute to go. The same thing happens in the House. Can I finish in a minute?
Yes, I just wondered if you thought you were in the House.
Yeah. I have heard that sort of noise before. I think it was just done to make me feel at home. The government does take the issue of standards very seriously. A working group is currently being established which will bring together university educators, teachers and politicians to discuss how to promote and maintain standards in schools. The Prime Minister called the group Assessment for Better Learning, and it is hoped that that will be operating soon as well. The question of standards is no longer an issue for teachers only, but an issue for the parents and community to consider. That can only be a positive development. All in all, the next few months will be an interesting and crucial period in the history of our education system, and of course a very challenging time for all involved as well. Today we honour the pupils, parents and teachers who have been involved in the last 100 years history of this school. Next month the trustee board elections will take place. I urge you to get involved in the process of electing the representatives for your school. It is those representatives that will help determine the future of your children's education. It is those parents who will begin charting the future of New Zealand's education system. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Some of those points we already knew, of course. Being country people, we do look after ourselves and our needs. I certainly hope that you've taken some of that information aboard. It is quite important. It is quite hard for some of us older people to come to grips with it, however. The next item is quite important. I hope you all have had the opportunity of seeing the cake erected in this proper fashion. It's quite an inspiring cake, and I'm very, very happy with the cake. It's quite impressive. I asked the ladies to place it down on the table to keep everything from blowing away and anything being broken. So I hope you bear with me in that respect. I would like to call for the cutting of the cake ceremony Inga Dayton Nee Holgerson, who is the oldest pupil here today, She was enrolled in the Linton School in 1909. Is Inga here, please? She's coming. Frida, would you? Lyndall? Now, I'll be talking to Inga early on. I didn't have the chance to get back to her, but I think she's quite emotional about this, and quite rightly so. She told me that she wouldn't like to do the job, and I said, this is an honour. And she said, be a little bit quiet and seated there, and they'll carry it out. It was thrust upon her. However, I'm sure she's very pleased to do it for us. Are you pleased to do it for us? Were you pleased?
Lovely cake.
Lovely cake. Everybody will have the opportunity of having a taste of this cake later on. Thank you very much. I'd like you to note the plate on top of the cake, which was done by my sister. No, it wasn't. A friend. My plate, but a friend did it for me. Work that one out. Anyway, as you see, the theme all the way through is the Linton School.
Of the Centenary Committee to extend a welcome and introduce the guests. Can I just simply say that Dale is in fact the son of the late Loyal and Iris Craw. And Dale and Judy, they live on that property where the trotting stables were sited and where the Linton sports were held. Like George Craw, his grandfather, Dale Craw is a councillor in the Manawatu District Council. I trust Dave Robinson, he'll take note of that because we might have something to say about you later. But ladies and gentlemen, it gives me much pleasure to invite Dale Craw to extend a welcome and to introduce the guests.
Thank you very much, John. I'm getting old. A bit of a struggle doing that there. However, welcome everyone once more. It is very pleasing for us, the committee, to welcome such a large gathering here tonight. I would like to introduce our official guests. And when I say official, I don't want them to feel that they have to be all stuffy about this because it's a celebration to enjoy, and please relax and enjoy the proceedings with us. I'd like to welcome the Chairman of the Wrongview Education Board, Mr. and Mrs. Mervyn Deasley. It's very pleasant to have Mr. Deasley with us tonight. Also we have the MP for Manawatu, Dave Robinson and Sue Lawrence. Chairman of the Manawatu District Council, Colin and Mrs. Austin. We also have with us the Chairperson of the Linton School Committee, Denise and Chris, and the Principal of the Linton School, Doug and Suzanne Drysdale. I would also like to make mention of Mrs. Rangi Hippie. Now, Rangi is the longest serving teacher that has ever been at Linton School. And I hope I'm correct in saying this, but I'm almost sure that she is. And that's something to be proud of. said that, I would like to recognise the assistance, well, it's more than assistance, the dependability of Lyndall, my sister, as the vice chairperson for the Centenary Committee. Now, I have relied on Lyndall quite a lot. She has been available at short notice. We are very frank with one another. And, you know, that's almost essential in a position where you've got to make decisions. I don't want to go through thanking a lot of people, but I feel that Lyndall, for her reward, I have decided, I've just told her a minute ago now, I've given her the honour of reading, and the official word is the good wishes list. We have quite a number of people on this list. I would like them to be read out, and Lyndall has agreed to read them for me. I would ask Lyndall to step forward and read this list, and also 2 letters which are in support of them.
The following have sent good wishes: Les Dunshee, Clara Gibbs, Nee Holgerson, Jeff and Maureen Ricks, Etty Mills, Nee Curran, Ray Priest, Rosemary Murphy, Nee Tottenham, ex-teacher, Jeff and Diane Smith, Margaret Rowan, Nee Coburn, Yvonne Simonson, Nee Coburn, Stuart Algie, Muriel Kendon, Nee Johnson, Joan McGrath, Nee Peterana, Jens and Betty N. Evelson, Ennis Goldston, Brian Turnbull, Dorothy and Alan Shackelford, Wendy Cutfield, Nee Peterson, ex-teacher, Graham Cox, Richard Murcott, Ivy Moynihan, Nee Walsh, Merle and Elva Craw, Mick, Barbara, Anna Kenner, Mrs. Palmer, Nee Kennard, and Donald Tasker. The following letter from Rosemary Murphy, Nee Tottenham. Congratulations on attaining 100 years. I'm thinking of you this week and wishing I could be with you. I'm sure you'll be renewing old friendships and enjoying memories of those days. Exchanging memories, rather. I spent 4 happy years at the school at Linton. I can truthfully say the most enjoyable of my teaching career. It's unfortunate that my health is not as good as I would like, and in addition I have a broken wrist and plaster this week. Greetings to you all with my best wishes for good weather and many happy hours together. Kindest regards, Rosemary Murphy, Nee Tottenham. And one from Adele Moody, Nee Craw, ex-pupil. Greetings everyone. I'm so sorry I'm unable to attend the Linton School Centenary celebration. Had I been nearer my old hometown, I would have been here today to meet some of the folks I knew so long ago. The olden days, I wonder if there is another ex-pupil of the Linton School who is older than I am today, born the 8th of the 11th, 1900. 88 and 1/4 years ago. If there is, I would love to have them contact me. Hope you all have a wonderful time during the celebration. Adele Craw, ex-pupil. I have her address if anyone wants to make contact. And her writing is beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Lyndall. I shall now decipher my next report. This is becoming a bit of a joke. Never mind. The committee had much pleasure in welcoming such a large gathering. We seated, wine and dine at this our centenary banquet. We hope you are able to enjoy each other's company. A special welcome to visitors from overseas and distant parts of New Zealand. I understand we have visitors here from Germany, some from Australia, and of course I know there's people from right down the bottom of New Zealand and right up to the top of New Zealand. In fact, there's quite a lot of people from very large distances away. I would also like to welcome all those who have prepared themselves, especially for this evening, to be with us. Now, I know some people haven't been in the best of health, but they have gone to the trouble, I'm sure, to prepare themselves and make sure that they could share this celebration with us. I'm aware of it, and I'm very pleased that they are here tonight. I'm sure it will be worthwhile for all people. These celebrations represent the attainment of 100 years of achievement by, in the main, solid rural stock. Now you might think that's a pretty basic statement, but it's a fact. Not overly ambitious, conscientious, with strong family ties. And if the cause can be justified, generous to a fault. Now, we have lots of working bees in the last 2 or 3 days, and what should happen is to get a little bit hungry, and a certain gentleman down the road who has a garage, lo and behold, he supplies a whole stack of pies for our dinner. And he said to me, he said, well, that's the least I could do for you chaps. And it was good, it was friendly, and I'm sure it cheered everybody up. To strangers, we are known, and having said that, to be unfriendly. The reason I say this is that there is an accepted period of time before acceptance into the district as being a part of the district. This period is well known as being 7 years. Now that's a fact. If you're not in Linton for 7 years, you're not a Linton person. I believe this may have changed in the last few years because of a different background of the district, but I think perhaps you could say now that it's been reduced to something like 3 or 4 years. So that's progress. I'm sure we attend these events with thoughts that are personal as well as common to all of us. Common denominator, of course, being the pioneers of this district, to which we owe such a lot. Their courage and fortitude, we all know, was of a high standard, and at times life was very hard for them. In recognising the hardships, we should remember their achievements were made, partly to improve the land and living conditions, but as well as a labour of love, so that those that follow them will be able to enjoy the fruits of their labours and have something better in life to look forward to. In this respect, their goals and achievements have more than been met by what surrounds us this evening. Just look around you. On behalf of everyone here, I pledge our respect and loyalty to all the pioneers and early settlers of our district in recognition of all their contributions and hard work which has brought us where we are this evening. Their record is indeed a proud one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dale. Perhaps a point that wasn't touched on, two of Mrs. Moody's daughters are in fact present, so I was almost going to say that they could be regarded in the dangerous category, but that's said with a great deal of goodwill. But Diane and Carol are, of course, present from Mrs. Moody's family. The catering arrangements, I think, are quite clear. All we simply would request is a bit of order as you serve yourselves. As we proceed with the schedule, I'm going to call on Gabriel Barnes to take grace. I really was almost going to say that Gabriel O'Connor comes more quickly to my mind, because like so many other families, the O'Connor family has a very strong pedigree in the district. I see Stan Rich down there, and he's not doing too bad either. I don't know whether you're all aware, but there's folks, in fact, that lived on what we regard as the McEvity property down by the old railway bridge. And so their history goes well back for the history of the region. Could I therefore call on Gabriel Barnes to take grace, and I'll ask you to accordingly stand while Gabriel carries out that ceremony.
Lord, we who have come together to celebrate the Jubilee of our schools and district are happy together around this table, not only for the food that we are going to eat, but also because we can sit and chat with those we know. We thank you, Father, for this food, the memories and the friendship.